Oliveyah Fisch, welcome to the Rich Equation podcast. Such an honor for you to be here.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy and honored to be here too.
I'm really excited for this conversation today. I feel like the listeners are going to get a lot out of it. I'm looking forward to it because I know I'm going to get a lot out of it. I'm hoping that you can help me change my state, and maybe we'll run through a couple of examples and you can juice us up. I think that just before we get into it, I want to kind of frame the topic here today because I think, today we live in a very active, busy, there's lots of activities in the world. We're pulled in so many different directions with social media and all that. And what I love about having you on the podcast and why I think you're such a great person to talk about with today is that, it's really important that we come from a place of energy and power and being centered, and how we manage all of this in our everyday life as high achievers is really important in our output. And so I guess before we get really down and dirty, tell me a little bit about your background. Tell us about how you started this work. Yeah, I know you just published a book, so tell us a little bit about that and give us a quick couple-minute update on, why you are here talking about this subject.
Great. Yes, I'm happy to dive into a little background. So yes, my book is going to be coming out this month, at the end of the month. It's called Lose the Weight, Create Your Healthy State. And maybe I'll start from there. So the reason I wrote this book is because I see so many misconceptions out there in my 20 plus years of working in the health and fitness industry and moving into health coaching and life coaching, where just some basic knowledge needs to be stated in one space, in one place that I can give to people who enter my containers for group coaching spaces and one-on-one coaching, and people who just are reaching out for help to debunk some myths, because as you're saying, there's so much information out there, and it takes a lot of time to curate what's real, what's not, what do I need to follow, what do I need to ignore. And I just kind of cut out all the stuff that's not working and just tell people, okay, here it is. Here's what you got to do. Here's how you're going to actually empower your health. So part of my background was that I've been in the industry since 2005. I started my business right out of college, and I was running boot camps and doing one-on-one personal training in people's homes, that type of style of a trainer for a long time. And then I moved into group coaching and really focused on the body mostly. But I realized that you could only go so far with that. And a lot of times it's about the routines and rituals, as you know, so that you need to create so that you can have sustainable health and a lifestyle you feel proud of. And, you wake up excited to do your day, and you go to bed with your head resting on your pillow like, yes, I did it. I'm so proud of myself. And how do you actually keep that in a sustainable way? So I started shifting the way I coach and train people, instead of thinking of it just as their body, more of a holistic approach to health, so that people really felt like they were achieving their big goals. Because I do have a lot of clients that walk into my space who are extremely high performers and are really wanting to make a difference in the world. So in order to do that, you have to have a routine that's going to support your lifestyle and support those big goals. So part of the reason I shifted was because I was so praised, to be honest with you, with how I lived. It looked from the outside like I had it all going on. I was getting paid a lot of money. I probably was making more money than any personal trainer you've ever met, just rocking it out, doing my thing. And I was addicted to exercise. And I looked great, but I was miserable. I was running up Mount Tam every day in the area I live in San Francisco Bay Area, and overtraining and overworking. And I was really burnt out. And I realized there had to be a better way. And so part of what I started to do was integrate some other tools besides just working out. The first thing that somebody does, it states to themselves and declares for themselves when they want to be strong and have more energy, is they say, I'm going to work out every day. Like, that's the first thing people go do. Like,
it's true, actually.
I'm going to work out every day. That's the first thing. And that's actually usually the last thing that people need to focus on when they're wanting to create their healthy state and feel truly energized, because a workout actually takes your energy energy away. It's actually exhausting to do a workout. So you got a stressed out body, a stressed out life, and then you're working out on top of it and you're stressing your body out. So I'm a huge fan of the Hoffman process. I actually took myself through this 7-day personal development retreat center. They do great work. And when I came out of that, I stopped overtraining. I started training people instead of bodies. And that's kind of cultivated this holistic approach, and why I moved into health coaching and life coaching, and why I like to work with high performers to have them achieve more at work, and they have the energy to do that. So that's a little bit of my story. I can dive in real deep with all those different topics, and you can go where you want to go with that. But that's a little bit about my perspective and where I'm coming from. It was really because I gave myself an autoimmune disease, overtraining and stressed out and overworking. And from the outside, I can do more pull-ups and deadlift and squat more than most people who walked into a gym, but that's actually not what really matters. It's not like somebody was going to pay me because I can bench more, right? Who cares? So it's really about trying to create that balance and that lifestyle that's going to be sustainable for the goals that you have.
Yeah, I think you hit it right on the head, right? Because when you have a high performance attitude and it's innate in you, you're driving really hard, you have a high probability of building an unsustainable lifestyle and burning yourself out. And so I think what we're all trying to achieve is sustainable, grounded amount of energy so we can continue to keep driving forward and make impact in the world, right? So I guess before we started recording, you were talking a lot about state. Like getting in the right state, and talk to me about that. What does that mean? And, what can we do to get in the right state?
Great. I love that. I love this question. So most people will start with those externals, like I was talking about. They'll start with, I don't feel good. I need to work out, for example, right? I got to go work out. I got to go add more to my very busy day. So one way you can think about it here is, let's talk about what I mean by first creating your healthy state. So a healthy state is actually knowing that when you pour into yourself, that's the first thing that has to happen. You've got to fill up your cup so that you can be overflowing with energy, life force, right? So that it can ripple off into your relationships with your kids, with your coworkers, with the person that you're going to see at the grocery store, and into your business to be making more money, right? So we've got 3 aspects of our life we're constantly trying to balance out. We have the self, we have our relationships, and we have our contribution. And most of the time, people are trying to pour into these relationship and contribution buckets and wondering why it's not working. Like, I wish I had a better relationship with my wife. I wish that I was making more money. Let me go try to work on that. But really, it's about the self. So how can you create a healthy state within yourself and pour into that bucket? So I kind of think of myself as a self, like advocating for the self here, okay? So in order to change your state, what you want to think about here is that you can do this very quickly. Most of the time what happens is somebody wakes up and they're like, oh, I'm tired. Let's take that. Or maybe you can give me an example out of your life of like, tell me a time that was just like, I'm feeling like blah or okay.
Yeah, no, I think, well, a few things. And I appreciate you asking me that question, because we should use me as a perfect example right now so we can shift. I think that when you're doing, even we just talk about the podcasting, you got to show up with a lot of energy. And sometimes you're not always in that moment of energy, or maybe you just ate lunch and you're feeling sleepy, or you just had a really tough phone call and you need to pivot into something that you can't show up with a level of stress or anxiety or pressure. You wake up in the morning and you're like, wow, I got 8 hours of sleep and yet I'm still tired. Or that, whether you're tired or not, like that thought comes in your head. You come home after a long day of work, and I have 2 little kids. I have a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old, 2 girls. And like, they don't care that I'm tired. They don't care that I had a rough day or a good day. Either way, they're just like rambunctious and with full of energy and like, daddy's home. Like, we need you to show up for us.
Yes.
And so being able to pivot really quickly for others when we don't feel like, we're either full or maybe we drained our cup. We started full and then we drained it. And then, boom, I get on a phone call with Olivia and she's expecting me to be full again. Like, I need to be able to pivot really quickly in maybe 30 seconds, maybe 60 seconds, right? So those are some of the things that are showing up for me, and moments in my life where I would love us, and I know Tony Robbins talks about this, like he has like get in state and like pull your motion or whatever he calls it, like strike your move. But yeah, definitely getting into state and being prepared mentally and physically for what's about to show up, I think is critical to success as we navigate.
Yeah, you mentioned a lot of good points, and I'm happy to I just want to
get me in
thank
state.
you for being able to go there with me here today. So let's talk about two things that you mentioned, because there's two aspects here. There's one of how do I keep my cup full, right? What are the rituals, the routines that I need, and also being aware of where am I at? Like, am I at 50% today, or am I at 100%, right? And how am I going to adjust that? But let's put that aside for a moment. Let's just say, for example, the example you gave. You've got an appointment at 12 o'clock with Olivia, and you just kind of like had a fight with your wife, or like you're upset about something else, or you just are not feeling it, right? And so let's talk about how that can happen, that shift. First, it's about building the awareness and being honest with yourself about actually what's happening, okay? With self-compassion. So say you had a phone call with me, or a session, a podcast to come on here and be on for Olivia, for example. And right before something just happened and you're feeling down. Can you first just be honest with what is happening in that moment? Or are you trying to be like, I shouldn't be feeling this way at all. Anyway, I should have the energy without having to think about it. So can we just give ourselves that space to be honest with what is actually happening in present? That's the first space, okay? Is acknowledgement of where you're at. The second is knowing that it's possible to change your state very quickly. If you don't believe you can change your state very quickly, it's going to be hard to change your state very quickly.
That's ironic.
Yeah, right. You have to actually believe that I have the ability to change my state very quickly, and it's not going to take that much time. It actually takes 10 minutes, 8 to 10 minutes to change your state completely, in my opinion. And it takes 10 seconds to change your mind about it. Okay. So it takes 10 seconds for me to shift from, I'm going to get on this call that I'm not stoked about, and maybe I don't have the energy for, and I have some fear coming up that I'm not going to be able to show up on this podcast today, for example, right? Can I just acknowledge that fear? What's that about? Oh, well, maybe I'll trip up on my words. My daughter woke me up 3 times last night. This is all true, by the way. Okay. Like maybe all of this stuff is coming up in my head. Can I just acknowledge it first and then say, okay, well, what kind of state do I want to be in? What's my why for being on this podcast in the first place? You know what? I want to come and serve some people. I got an hour to hang out with this amazing person and have a cool conversation about something important to me. I remember my why. I'm here to serve, right? So the next part is acknowledgement, and then remembering your why. Remembering why it's important for you to show up. Why did you start a podcast in the first place? Why are you doing this, right? There was a reason you decided to make this happen. So connecting with your why. And then you can tap into the energy you need and do the Tony Robbins thing, okay? Then you can say, use your voice and be big and be like, tap into that masculine energy that you're gonna need to show up with energy on the call, or do 5 push-ups, do whatever to shift that energy. And that is what usually takes 8 minutes. I call it the 8 minutes till proud. It's kind of like, think of it like when you're warming up. The hardest part of a workout is that 8 minutes when your body is transitioning, right? Into that warm up state and to get warmed up. So it can literally be noticing what you're doing to continue the story that you're creating. Oh, I'm so exhausted. I'm so exhausted. That's your story. Everybody wants to start with this strategy. They want to shoot right to the strategy. The strategy is I drink water and then I go outside, right? They have all these things that I can tell you to do, right? Do 5 push-ups. But really it's saying, can I actually just change my mind about this real quick and say, I can change my state immediately, right here, right now, by being aware of where I'm at, remembering my why, and then going and saying, okay, I need more feminine energy right now. I need softer energy, or I need more masculine, bigger, bolder energy, right? And then you can use the tools to tap into which one those are. What is actually needed for you to feel ready for this podcast today? So It's a little bit of a process, but it actually takes 10 seconds when you're getting used to it. And then it's 8 minutes to change that state completely over to something else if you're willing to go there and know that it's possible. But we can go into more specifics, but I would love to hear if that makes sense to you.
Yeah, no, it definitely makes sense.
I think questions are coming up.
Yeah, no, what I love about that is that, you can't just power your way through it. Like, oh, I just had a terrible call with my wife. Like, I need to push that down right now and figure out how to pivot and then complain about it as I transition in. I think acknowledging it, rewriting the story mentally, saying, it's totally possible that I can shift this. It's totally possible I can get in state and start creating that. I'm starting to get more into like neutral language of, I don't have to go from absolute negative to absolute positive, right? I don't have to go from super low energy to super high energy. The first thing to do is to get to neutral and then move from there, which is like the next 8 minutes, right? Is kind of what I'm hearing from you.
Yeah, you can just state what is. I just had a hard conversation with my wife, period. I'm going to decide to have self-compassion for that. So I think of it like two sides of a coin. And a lot of times high performers and recovering perfectionists like myself will shoot for the discipline, like all about the discipline, just like show up, do the thing, make it happen, find a way, right? And the other side of that coin is the compassion. And for high performers, especially high performers and people who are high achievers, we have to turn that coin over to self-compassion more often. That's the other side of that coin. And if you're not used to doing that, it feels like it feels very uncomfortable, to be honest. It feels like you're giving yourself a pass, or you're getting lazy or getting soft, the language I hear. And it's actually what is the fuel.
That's exactly
for you to be able to say, man, I'm human. I'm a human being and I have human emotions. And sometimes I'm having a hard moment and I can just give myself love for a second here. But if you bypass that, then you can't remember your why. And then you're just trying to go through the grind. And that leads to a lot of the burnout and the overwhelm and the languishing that's happening here in our state of the Zoom life, and post-pandemic life that we're in.
One of the things you talked a lot about was, in terms of like health, you talked about, how everyone runs to fitness. Everyone runs to working out. In all of your work and all of your learnings, I guess, what are the universal truths to get to health?
Yeah. So to create that healthy state. So this is the other side, right? So we were talking about like in the moment, what am I going to do? Right. It's right. In that hard moment, we got that, the awareness of remember my why, and then tap into the energy that you're moving towards. So in regards to how do I just sustain that healthy state, right? Everybody is going to go to workouts, like the first thing they think of. And I am not a proponent of that as a fitness instructor, right? It's so ironic. So here's the deal. You want to start with the first process I call is eliminating the dead weight. Okay. Can you eliminate the dead weight? What is costing you the most energy first? So a lot of times people say, I don't feel good. I want to feel better. Let me go join a yoga class or a gym, or I'm going to work out every day. Right. So instead, can we think, what's not working? What's costing me the most energy in my day? Where's my energy leaking? Ooh. Where am I feeling like I'm constantly negotiating with myself? Do I watch TV in bed or not? Do I drink coffee in the morning or not? Do I have a bagel at 2 or not? Like these constant negotiations with ourselves that we kind of keep going back and forth with. Can you clean that up first? So it's kind of like just clear out what's not working first. Do not add a workout, especially the type of workouts out there now, which is very high intensity, super draining, like these HIIT classes, right? Or boot camps. I lead a boot camp too. And I'm like, what else are you doing this week, right? Do not make this your only workout. So there's a balance to be found. And when you're focused on just the workout, you're stressing out an already stressful body. And and you're not going to actually get the results that you want because your body will not gain the strength it needs. And you won't have the capacity, the energy you need to build the muscle that you need and to get the energy you want. So
fascinating that we can actually get more energy by being restful than we can by creating power or creating or being, driving energy through fitness. or exercise.
And fitness and working out is an important element. We can get to how that you can do that effectively. But for the first thing I wish people did, right? If I can have my choice, someone says, I don't feel good, right? It's like, great. What's costing you too much energy? Let's get rid of that. Like right now, like, oh, I've been trying to get my car washed for 2 years. Great. Go do that. Right. Like literally. Okay. Like I have no idea what it would be for you, but we can kind of walk you through one. Like, what would it be? Like, I actually think I heard you from your podcast. You're like, I'm working out every day this year.
I am.
Right?
You heard it right. I am working out every day.
Was that you? Yes.
Yes.
So how is that going?
It's exhausting. No, but it's going well. And now that I can hear it as you're speaking too, that, it helps because after a certain point in the working out, you get into flow and you get into the, all the oxytocin and your hormones get rebalanced, and I ice dip. And so it keeps me on a really healthy regimen, but it's exhausting. And so what I love about what you're saying is also, there's a lot of mind energy that is causing fatigue and adrenal fatigue as well. So like, what are all the things that are on my mind while I'm working out? What are all the things that are on my mind as I'm sleeping or as I'm going through my day I'm consuming calories by doing that too.
Exactly.
I'm burning energy by dealing with, whatever. Like I'll give you one right now. Okay. Cool. My car light on my coolant has been flashing for like 3 weeks. Yep. And every day I think about it. I see it in the car. I think about I need to schedule go drop it off, get a rental, what have you, and I just haven't made time for it. Yeah. And it's like in your mind, right? It's like it's costing you energy, and our energy is our greatest asset. Our energy is our greatest asset. That is what is making this podcast happen. You had the energy to figure out how to make all this tech work, right? And get people on your calendar. And that's what made it work. Wasn't that you were so brilliant? Sorry to say. It was that you had the energy to just do it, right? Yes, you're right. You're right.
You just did it, right?
Yeah.
So it's not, people are so consumed with, I got to have the right education and I got to work hard and I have to achieve so much. But really it's about, can you make sure that your energy is right and tapped into that energy? So for the example of the car, for example, and then your workout plan for the year, okay? It's not to say working out is not important. It's just not the first step, okay?
Right.
The first step is, can you eliminate what's costing you energy first? And that just doing that practice alone is huge, has been great, beneficial. Like the benefits I give to my clients by doing that practice with them, and we'll just ping them, hey, what's costing you energy today? What do you need to take off your plate right now?
What are so what you're saying, like all these energy loops that we create in our life, close all the energy loops.
Close them up. Exactly. Close them up. And if you can that's how you keep your energy clean, so that when you're with your two kids, you're with your two kids. When it's time to hang out with your wife and have sex, you're just having sex. When it's time to go drive to work, you're just driving to work, when those loops are clean, right? And so that's how you clean up your energy. And that's the first way you can get more energy, is by stop all the clutter that's going on and take it off. And you got to get honest with yourself. A lot of people are like, well, I know I shouldn't be doing that, but I'm not ready to do that, right? I'm not ready to make that move. I'm not ready to say, I'm not going to have wine at the end of my night. I'm not ready to say X, Y, and Z, right? And so that's why it's important to tap into your why. Like, you have to make it urgent. You have to make it urgent either by thinking of the greatness you're going to get out of that, or what's the cost of inaction? What's your cost of inaction? So you got to tap into the fear of it or the excitement of it, either end, but urgency is required to make that happen.
So one of the things that I'm thinking about and showing up for me as you're speaking is like, there's a difference between being present and being super like in the moment and having closed energy loops. So for example, I find that if I'm trying to be really, really focused and be present, it doesn't authentically work if I have a lot of open energy loops. Exactly. If I have like 100 emails that I need to get to, and I have to make 3 phone calls before I go to bed, and I'm trying to spend time with my wife, or I'm trying to spend time with my kids, it still lingers in the back of my mind that I have to get that stuff done. And so how do you manage the duties and the daily things that are required that are open to-do list type of open energy loops, let's say, for example, and being incredibly present and having a clean energy slate. Like, I love how you said that.
We all have like these lists, right, of things we got to get done, right? And so a couple of things just logistically. One of the things that we don't do very well is planning our schedule so it works for us. We really are planning our schedule so it works for everybody else. So if you can create really strong boundaries so that you don't have to switch hats so many times, that costs you energy. So if I have to go from dropping my 4-year-old off and being in mom mode in the morning to working, to then picking up, to then making dinner, and then going back to work, that is so much energy. I did that for a while. It didn't work. Okay. That is costing me way too much energy, and I'm not present for any of it. Okay. It was working for everybody else but me.
Right.
So some of it is going to be delegating tasks. You mentioned your car thing, right? There's a reason you can say, I didn't have time, or delegate that, right? That can be handed off to somebody so easily so that it works. It's a win for you, right? And it's a win for the other person who got paid for doing some easy task. So I want to just state that first, we have to realize that there's always an opportunity to solve the problem. Anytime there's a problem or an uncomfortable feeling in our body that arrives of, oh, I feel stuck, there is a solution right away. It's not someday, it's right away. There is a solution there right away, okay? So if you can believe that, it's going to go faster. The next thing that happens is you say, how can I make my schedule so that it works for me? And what do I need to delegate off here so that I don't have to switch hats so many times? Because if you're switching hats all day long, it's actually really hard to be present in any of it. It's really, really hard to do. So that sounds like a scheduling issue that I would help. Like if you were a client, I would literally look at your calendar with you and say, what do we got to clean up? Okay.
You're not going to like my calendar.
Yeah, exactly. And also too, this goes for meetings. Like I'll have my CEO day where I don't have meetings. Like there's no meetings. It's my CEO day where it's creative work versus meetings, right? And for those of us who own our own business, this is very possible. And if you're up high enough in the corporate world, this is possible too. Okay. Even with my clients who have, working at Facebook or Salesforce, we're able to do this if you have the courage to ask for what you need, right?
Right.
So with all of it, it's a little bit about cleaning up your schedule so you're not bouncing around different types of tasks so often, okay? But here's something. So just say, Olivia, that's not going to happen yet. What do I do today to feel better, right? So you're done with this podcast or you're done with your work day and you're stepping into, kid mode. Those girls are going to rush at you at the door and want daddy time, right? So I would say to you, what do you need to do? How can you prepare your state so that you feel filled up before you step into there? Because then you're giving again and you just gave all day long and you didn't fill up yet. And people think, oh, well, I would have to spend all day doing something. No, you do not have to spend all day. It's going to take 8 minutes. You have 8 minutes to transition. You need 8 minutes to transition between work mode and daddy mode. And what do you need to do in those 8 minutes? So some of my clients say, what would really feel good if I can just walk for 8 minutes and just like listen to a podcast. And I can literally just walk around my own neighborhood before I walk in, or I'm going to listen to music on the way home and I'm going to sing to myself. Or you know what? I have a high school friend I would really like to talk to before I step into that space. It could be different every day as well. Doesn't have to be the same thing. But what happens is that we don't think we can do it in such a short amount of time, so we don't do it at all. And we're just stepping from one thing to another, to the next, right? So for example, what would you need to do to go from, work mode, podcast host to daddy mode?
Yeah, I love this. Let me tell you what I've tried and then
let me see.
Yeah.
Yes,
so I've tried not being on the phone after I pass a certain exit driving home. I've tried meditating in the car for 20, 30 minutes or 10 minutes before I get in the house. I've tried breathing exercises. I've tried ice dipping the moment I walk in the door, getting into a cold bath. I've tried showering. I've tried music. And I think that one of the trends, and I think it's different every day, which is okay too, but I think that the trend that I see is that I have to get into the mindset that they would want me to get into. Like, meaning I had to get into a fun mindset. I can't get into like a serious, if I get into a podcast and I'm thinking about like, you know, some strategic type of podcast, that's not supporting me getting into daddy, fatherly, loving, fun mode. It's supporting like still super analytical. It's keeping me here. So I think what I'm learning is that whatever behavior I'm doing to get into my heart connection will serve me best into getting with my kids, which is not staying on the phone. For me, being on the phone is the very head. Even if I'm talking to my best friend, most of my closest friends know I can't stand on being on the phone because it's like very work transactional to me. It's not a fun enjoyment of, you know, human connection. I'd rather do this. I'd rather have a cup of coffee to connect with people. So it's definitely not being on the phone. I love the walk. I love the breathing or the meditation, or and I would love for you to speak on this. I just had my first Hoffman experience.
Oh.
Yeah. I just like
go?
On Monday. No, I had a friend walk me through and it was like a 6 or 8 minute Hoffman quad check. Yes.
Yeah. It's great. I love it.
It was super cool.
I'm a huge fan of Hoffman. I send lots of people there.
And it's ironic that that's 8 minutes.
Yeah, it's 8 minutes, right? It is. It's not that long to, depending on which one, like a gratitude appreciation practice with a quad check. Yeah, they have all those resources on their Instagram page as well to tap into. So yeah, I would love to, well, let me ask you this. Is that working? Are your strategies working?
No, because, well, the strategies work, but the problem is I'm not doing them. And I'm not consistent and intentional about it. I love that you said that.
Okay, so here you go. You're not doing them, okay? And also too, I kind of felt that because, can I just give a reflection?
Of course.
Here, when you're talking, they sounded like boring to you. They sounded like another thing to do.
Well, that's why they don't, that's why, right.
Yeah, it's like another thing to do. It's like it's like another task.
And
it's not fun.
If you heard me, I was rattling them off like check boxes, so they're not effective. And I realize I'm only doing them when I'm at such an extreme limit of disruption that I'm like, I need something else. They're not inbred into my day-to-day behavior because they're not the highest priority, right? So you called me out correctly.
Yeah, it's like it's almost like this is what I know I'm supposed to do because I heard these strategies work, right?
Yeah.
But those strategies only worked for people because they were working connected to their why, and it worked in that moment. All the strategies work. It's not like all of them work if you do them, okay? It's just that there's not like one that doesn't and one that does. All of them work. Okay?
So what did I do wrong, or what am I doing wrong?
Yeah. So here's what I would say. You want to have fun. None of those are fun for you. There might be for Tony Robbins. They're not for you, okay? They're like another thing to do because you know they're good for you. But I'm wondering for you, what would actually be fun? Like, and so is the point, you know, you're trying to transition from work mode to daddy mode, okay? But you know you can't jump into that so quick. It sounds like you want a little break. Maybe somebody told you were supposed to have a transitional period, right? And so you're doing more, I'm doing more work on your plate, right? Where you can just go play with them and say, Daddy, can we transition daddy? All right, kids, here we go. You're going to transition daddy into play mode, right? Like you can literally do that and have them show you. Let them be, whether they're 2 and 4, right? They're old enough to let you go teach them by saying, I'm so up in here. Tell me how to be in here. And use that language with them. They're like, okay, let me dress you up.
Oh my God, I love that.
Right? So first of all, see, do you need a transition or not? Maybe you don't at all. Stop making more work for yourself, but more things you have to do in the 8 minutes of your downtime, right? Maybe you just sit there and think about donuts. Like you don't have to be so productive every second of the day, okay? And the fact that we're trying to hack every single minute of our life, that's not working. It's actually costing us, again, so much energy. And so I would ask you with this, can you value play and fun? Do you value it?
Yes.
Is it a productive? Do you have that under the umbrella of being a productive use of time, of just like useless play? So for play, in my definition, is for no other reason other than what you're doing. It doesn't give you any other benefit. It doesn't make you more money. It doesn't make you a better person. You're not trying to
I love that.
be better.
Yes.
You're
No,
just-
I mean, I love dancing and I love music. So
Nice.
what I loved about what you said is, instead of even giving myself more work before I come home and before I transition, is like, put on music with the kids and help them transition. It's such a great idea.
Yeah.
I think we all have, and I know we're picking on this specific transition from people coming from work to home, but like, it's relevant to everybody. But you walk in the door, and if you don't have kids, it's like your wife saying it's time for dinner and there's no transition. And now your wife wants to talk about what happened during the day and what did you accomplish and what happened and blah, blah, blah. Like, you're still in your head. And so you're still bugged out about the day, or you're still having stress or anxiety or whatever. So I think that being able to have other people participate in that transition is a really, really brilliant idea.
Yeah, and I think that everybody needs it too. Like, if I'm home and my husband comes in the house, that's a transition for me as well. His energy coming in,
Sure.
right? And so it's a transition for everybody. And so how do you transition with the people you come home to? Or even if you live by yourself, what do you need to create that downtime so that the first thing you don't do is go check on your Twitter or LinkedIn, right? Like, is that actually what you want to be doing the first thing to get home? What does the time in between the transitions look like for you, so that you're using your time, not to say you're using your time effectively, but as it's going to fill you up. You're using your time in a way that's going to fill you up and create the state that you want to experience. If you want to experience numbness or distraction, great. Pick up your phone, have a glass of wine, right? It's not, I don't care. Have a great time doing that too. Be excited to do that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Sometimes you need that
That's
too.
totally valid. Yeah. Do that too. Just know that if you're not wanting that, there are other options for you. You know, I just had the vision when you were talking of like you coming home and you spinning your wife around and dancing before the questions happened, right? Like, how wonderful would that be? And you just put on music and then you did that. And that was the transition, right?
Right. I love that.
Because especially if you don't like the questions right away, it sounded jarring to you.
Yeah.
Create something different, right? Because she's just trying to connect or do some, make it fun, make it so she thinks she's supposed to be interested in your day, maybe, right? Or maybe she genuinely is, but she's trying to transition to your energy coming in too, right?
I love that.
So
I would love to ask you, do you have a daily routine or a morning routine?
Yeah, I like to call them rituals because I don't like them to feel like checklists, right? Because I kind of went into that extreme, like, oh, these are all the things I'm supposed to do, right? So I like to think of it, this is my bucket of things I can do, and I get to pick which one I want to do in the day. But there are some basics that I think that we can tap for people here too, which is there are these 4 basic pillars of health that you do want to dial in, okay? In order to, what we're talking about, just have your cup filled up enough, right? So that you're feeling alive and great in your day. And all the things you already know about. There's the water, there's the movement, there's the sleep, and you're making sure that you're fueling your body with good food. It's not genius. Those are just the things that you want to do, okay?
Right.
But in particular for my morning, so a couple of things that I realize I need for my life and is just to have time before everybody else wakes up in the morning. So I'm up usually before everybody else, and I give myself anywhere between 10 minutes to an hour, maybe a little bit more if I went to bed on time, to just have a moment for myself. And during that time, there's lots of things and choices I can do, right? It's like, what do I want to step into? And I do my best to think ahead of time what that might be for me. Like, what is it that I want to create by doing a quad check, by the way. What does my body need right now? What is my body needing? How am I feeling? And checking in with all parts of me to see what it is that I want to go and step into for the morning during my time. So and I'm always hesitant to tell people what I do, because then people are like, okay, I'm going to go do those things, right? But I will share with them because you asked. So part of it is I like to check in with my emotional self and see if I need what I call like a rinse. It's like a rinse off. It's not water. Sometimes it is, but it's like, do I need to cry? Do I need to laugh? How am I feeling inside, just emotionally in my space? Do I feel like frustrated or angry or stuck? And do I need to shake it off, rinse it off, get it out of my body physically? It's like stuck on me and I'm going to get it off. Okay. Mm-hmm. So whether that's by taking a cold shower or splashing cold water on my face or dancing or shaking to music, I have a moment where I'm allowing for that rinse off to happen. It's like literally I envision it of, you know that book, I'm sure, The Body Keeps Score, right? Mm-hmm. We might not remember all the crap that happens to us, but our body does. Right. So part of that is me just allowing space to get out whatever it is that needs to come out. So I leave time for that. That's usually where I get my 15 to 20 minutes of movement. If I have more time, I'll do an hour. But really, it's like my workouts are like 10 to 20 minutes usually. That's all you really need. If you're consistent, by the way, that's all you ever need, okay, for a workout. I usually drink my water, so about half of my water's done by the morning time as well for my intake. Proper hydration is half of your body weight of water per day. So half of your body weight in ounces, of water per day. Mm-hmm. And I'll journal, and I will usually do some type of gratitude practice or meditation. And sometimes that's Kundalini, yoga. Sometimes that's chanting. Sometimes that's saying my affirmations or intentions or declarations. It's prepping for my day. It is the most important part of my day. After I do my time and my rituals or whatever I know I need that day, it's an unfolding. The day just unfolds because I've already set it up into motion. I'm energetically created the body that's going to then just go do all the things that I had planned to do.
What happens when you're... Sorry, go ahead. Mm-hmm. Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. What happens when I can't do that?
Yeah, what happens if either you can't do it or you have a bad day? What happens when Oliveyah's off?
So for example, this happened last night. Last night, my daughter woke up 3 times. She had a bad dream. She needed things. I forgot to put her water next to her bed, blah, 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 all the things, right? I didn't wake up early, okay? So it's important to have your plan A, your plan B, and your emergency plan, okay? Especially if you have kids, because shit comes up, right? So right. If I have an emergency plan, the emergency plan is, what do I need to do to feel proud in this moment? So really all that, say I have an hour, all of that I'm doing is just to build my muscle of pride. I'm creating a win for the day, right? Right. So say I have an hour, that's easy to do. 10 minutes probably can do. Say, no, nothing happened, right? Okay, this was this morning. What do I need to do to feel proud? I know what I need to do, and I want everybody to think about what they would need to do, okay? Like get into this zone. For me, that is, I have to be very kind. The first words I say to my family, kindness. It's not, I had to wake up 3 times last night with you, babe. No, that's not the first words. So my first words to the people that are in my house have to be kindness. So my daughter runs into the room, Mama, I made you a picture. Baby, I love it. Let me see. So whatever the first words come out have to be kindness. That's one. Okay. I
love that. Beautiful.
The second one is that nobody needs me that much. I'm not that important. So this is the mindset I get myself into. I can take 8 minutes. Like nobody's, who cares? Yeah. My daughter might need me. My husband can just but
nothing's gonna die. No one's gonna die if I have it. I'm not that
important. I can change my state in 8 minutes. So for me, I have to say the first words of kindness. And I'm allowed to take 8 minutes, okay? And in that 8 minutes, it's the emergency plan, which is usually water, some breath work, and a dance party. That's mine, okay? It's like literally it's one song, and I'm just in here, I close the door, and I'm like, oh, Mama's having a dance party. She's gonna make herself feel better, right? So, and that's what I usually do. So I have my emergency plan. And again, it's a bucket. Sometimes it's me writing in my journal and crying for 8 minutes. Sometimes it's me doing some jumping rope for 10 minutes because I need that big energy because I have a call coming up, right? But have your bucket, have your list of things that you know you can tap into to pull from when needed. And you want to have that plan A, that plan B, and that emergency plan. Because if you don't have that emergency plan, something's going to come up and you're not going to do it at all. So what can that be for you?
I absolutely love all of that. I want to ask you, this journey there's always work to be done, right? Mm-hmm. There's always things that you can constantly keep improving and things that show up for you that you need to improve. What is that for you? What's showing up in your life right now, things that you are working on to up level to the next place?
Yeah, I'm willing to go there and get vulnerable here. I'm really learning to let people in more. I tend to see myself, and I have a pattern of seeing myself as other in a lot of spaces and places in my life. I think it's because I grew up in a very affluent white area, and I'm Black and not white, and I didn't have money growing up. And so from a very early age, there was like this other feeling. I actually grew up in a cult. And then my parents left the cult. And so it was from a very early age, there was this feeling of, oh, we are not that, we are other. Okay.
Interesting.
And so part of my work right now is to see where that is getting in my way from having more intimate relationships with people in my life and reaching out more and I think I do that really well, obviously, in my business, but I haven't valued it in my personal relationships and haven't made the time for it as much as I want to now in my life. And to be able, and I think I had to also set a lot of boundaries with the people that were my immediate family in my life for so it was like already me pushing like, oh, here's a boundary, here's a boundary, here's a boundary. And now I got really good at setting boundaries, but it's nice to also know that I can trust and let people in and heal that wound in me that feels like I can't really let people in on a deeper level where there's connection and almost like the spark of a new relationship, and just investing it as an adult, right? When you're making new friends as an adult or investing in relationships as an adult, it takes time. We're all very busy and there's things to do. So I think that is my work right now, is really being open to trusting people more and letting people in and being open to just meet new people and have them have a new best friend. My daughter said that to me. She's like, Mama, you need to meet new people. She's like, it's like, you need to just go out there. When I'm on the playground, I can just say, hi, do you want to play? And I'm like, gosh, that would be so great. Yeah. If I could just be that open.
I think your daughter and my daughter would be best friends because my daughter's the same. She walks up to everybody, hi, can I play?
Yeah,
and,
I know. I see that.
No, go ahead.
I see that in her. Yeah, I see that. It's unabashful. She's just not bashful about it. She just goes up and does that. And I want to have that more for myself, so that I say, man, I'm open to making a good best friend today.
So that's a really beautiful sentiment, because you're right. Like, as we get older, we have all these like concerns, or is that person going to think I'm weird? But the innocence of it is just so beautiful, just letting people in and seeing what shows up. I think there's also a gift in being triggered by new people in our life. Like, what's going on? Ooh, this is a new guy. He's pushing my boundaries. That's interesting. I wouldn't have had that gift if I didn't have that guy in my life. So that's right. That's cool. Yeah. I appreciate you sharing that too, because I can relate to that for sure. I guess as we wrap up, let me ask you one final question. Mm-hmm. For you, what does it mean to live rich?
Living rich means that anything that I want to be a yes can be. Ooh. So anything I want to be a yes can be. And when I'm tapped into that, possibilities just are always, the possibilities are limitless. I made my New Year's resolution, one of them was to not worry about money. And anytime a money story came up in my head of like, ooh, feeling tight about money or constricted about like anything around wealth and money and I can't have this or anything like that comes up, I just drop it. No space. And it's working.
Yeah.
This has only been 1 month in of the year, and it's amazing how that shift in my commitment to say, yeah, I'm not letting one thought come in here right now.
About our limitation about money, our
or just like
lack
any
of
worry,
lack.
just like letting go of, I don't even have to put anything positive. Like it could just be neutral, right? Again, like you were saying. So anytime a pressure about money pops up, I just know it's not allowed, not in my space. And letting that go, I think it was costing me energy. And I think it's an old story that I had from my past that was time to drop. And it was like another layer, I should say, that needed to be peeled. Like I'm not really worried about money, but just like the little voices that just say, oh, you're trying to move next year. No, okay, what house can you afford? Whatever, anything. Like, oh, you're going to get another group going on. And how's the book sales going to go? Like anything about money. It's like, oh yeah, I'm not thinking those thoughts. I'm not doing that.
I love that.
And yeah, it's a nice thought. But yeah, everything, yeah, when I'm tapped into wealth and abundance, and that rich life, everything's available to me. That I want to be a yes is a yes. Yeah.
Oliveyah, how do people reach out to you, and tell us where can we find your book? Promote yourself a little bit.
All right, cool. So I have a book coming out. It's called Lose the Weight, Create Your Healthy State. And I'm Oliveyah Fisch. You can find me everywhere. My name is spelled kind of funny, so it's easy to find me as long as you spell it right. It's spelled like olive and then YAH. So OLIVEYAH. And I am on Instagram and Facebook and all the social media platforms. I'm even getting on TikTok. Look at me.
You go, girl.
But yeah, I have a website. You can contact me through there or any of the social media platforms. And I would love to give your audience my book. So if you contact me and say, hey, I heard you on the podcast, then I will give you a free copy of my book that's going to be coming out in a couple weeks.
That's awesome. I hope people listening really take her up on that. I'm so inspired by you. Wish you so much luck, so much abundance, so much grace. I think this was really, really awesome. I think people are going to get a lot out of this. So I really appreciate you being here and honor you and wish you the most success as you journey forward.
Thank you so much. I feel so honored to be here. Yes. Thank you for providing this platform and this space. It was a really fun time for me too.